So good evening dear students, welcome to Bajirao IAS Academy, the Hindu News Analysis. Today is 22nd January 2025 and today we have some important articles for the discussion, and one by one we'll try to discuss all these important articles along with one mains practice question. And today we have a mains practice question, and that is with respect to the smart cities mission that has been launched by the government. And in fact, so this smart cities mission has been launched to develop 100 smart cities all across India with state of the art infrastructure facilities. And we all knew that the urban centers in India as of now have been facing numerous challenges. For example, the urban pollution is one challenge, urban solid waste management is also another major problem, and more recently urban areas are also becoming more and more vulnerable to the urban flood like events, because we have seen urban floods in Bengaluru, Hyderabad, and even for that matter Delhi, and even the encroachment of the lakes, ponds in those urban areas, and that is also another major reason. Now apart from that, the traffic congestion is also another major reason, and lack of robust urban mobility and poor living standards of the people who are living in urban areas, and also development of slums is another major problem that the urban areas have been facing. So in order to ensure sustainable urban livelihoods for the people, so the smart cities mission has been launched by the union government in the year 2015. However, the aim of smart cities mission is to transform 100 cities to provide necessary core infrastructure. So whatever infrastructure which is being considered as necessary infrastructure, which can be considered as a core infrastructure, so that could be developed along with ensuring sustainable urban environment, because this could ensure a decent quality of life for the people who are living in the urban areas. So however, the smart cities would actually work on smart solutions. So smart solutions will play a very important role in ensuring that the urban infrastructure, the resilient urban infrastructure is created, maintained, and at the same time the development of urban centers would be a sustainable development, and that is in line with the sustainable development goals of 2030. And in fact, so the ambitious goals of smart cities mission have the potential to revolutionize the urban development, because if you look at the question, so what the question has been asking us about. Now, the smart cities mission in India has the potential to revolutionize the urban development. Now, in the first part of the answer, what you have to write, now how the smart cities mission actually has the potential to revolutionize the landscape of the urban areas or urban centers. Along with that, you need to write some significant challenges that these urban centers have been facing. And in fact, what are the significant challenges that the smart cities mission itself has been facing? And finally, you need to write a way forward, some suggestions, because you have already written the challenges, and when you write challenges, it is important that you should also mention a way forward, or you should also mention some challenges which could be practicable and which should help in overcoming those challenges in implementation of this smart cities mission. So in the introduction itself, you have briefly introduced the smart cities mission and its overall importance. However, in the first part of the question, it has been asked the ambitious goals of smart cities mission, or smart cities mission as a program itself has the potential to revolutionize urban development. So how it could revolutionize urban development, that is what we should understand, because the smart cities mission, the overall objective is to provide essential infrastructure, provide core infrastructure which is necessary, which is important. For example, when it comes to the road transportation, when it comes to the mobility, and even access to different network, so all those things comes under part of the urban infrastructure, whether you could talk about a robust sewage management or solid waste management. So everything comes part of it, and it could also substantially improve the quality of life by reducing the number of slums in those urban areas, right? So it would improve, or it would focus on improving the quality of life, and also it would create sustainable urban environment as well. So all these things would be created through application of smart solutions. So smart solutions are very, very important component in the smart cities mission. However, in order to make sure that the smart cities mission would be implemented in an effective manner, in order to spend resources in an efficient manner, and in order to achieve the desired outcomes as part of the smart cities mission, a special purpose vehicle is being constituted, right? So this special purpose vehicle model has been introduced to ensure better governance of these smart cities. Now it is not just important that we have created smart cities where smart solutions are being applicable, but along with the smart cities development, better governance is also very, very important. So therefore, the special purpose vehicle for the better governance of the smart cities program will be created with a blend of private sector as well as the government participation. However, the smart cities mission would specifically focuses on promoting sustainable development through area based and pan city solutions. So this is how it actually works on, and that essentially include smart energy generation, so energy through a renewable energy, and also the green building codes as well. So that could be more and more energy conservative, or they conserve energy, and also energy efficient as well. And it would also focus on water management, water recycling, sewage water treatment facilities, and solid waste management, a liquid municipal liquid waste management, and also efficient delivery of public services to the urban people who are living in the urban areas. However, the smart cities mission also aimed to drive economic growth by leveraging information and communication technology, and in fact in the development of urban centers, particularly the smart cities development, information and communication technology will play a very, very important role. For example, e-governance, doorstep delivery of services through several e-governance services. And e-governance would reduces, or information and communication technology would reduce the gap between the government and the citizens, and it could also ensures more transparency as well as accountability in the services provided to the urban citizens. So therefore, it is very important that when we are developing smart cities as part of smart cities mission, the information and communication technology would be leveraged to provide smart governance, to foster better innovation and also improve overall urban resources management. However, it has been facing some key challenges, and those key challenges are actually hindering the holistic development of this smart cities, or the hindering the smart cities mission as a whole. Now, what are the challenges? We should also understand those challenges as well. And in fact, one problem with the smart cities mission is broad and varied definition of what exactly constitutes a smart city. So there is no commonly accepted definition of a smart city, and because of that reason it has been creating a lot of confusion. So what exactly is a smart city? What sort of an infrastructure a smart city is required? How much investment it actually requires? So there's no such broad there's no such a specific definition of smart city, and that has been leading to inconsistent implementation and also prioritization of projects across different smart cities in India, and that has been creating the developmental disparities as well within this smart cities mission. Secondly, smart cities mission very often focusing on the top down approach. Now in fact, the bottom up approach is considered as a better approach for the holistic and comprehensive development of in fact, bottom up approach actually focuses on the grassroots level development of the grassroots level, particularly marginalized vulnerable sections. So however, smart cities mission is based on top down approach, so therefore it has been sidelining the local elected bodies as part of the 73rd and 74th constitutional amendment acts. So thereby it has been raising substantial concerns about the accountability as well as reducing the role of the local governance structures, and in fact planning and raising resources, management of existing resources, and enhancing public participation in the successful implementation of the smart cities mission. So these local bodies play a very important role. However, smart cities mission through establishing special purpose vehicles very often sidelining these local electoral or elected bodies or local governance institutions, and that is another shortcoming within the smart cities mission. And this mission's funding is insufficient compared to the estimated amount, because the smart cities mission required around 1.2 trillion US dollars for the holistic and comprehensive development of 100 cities in India as part of the smart cities program, right? By the year 2030, around 1.2 trillion US dollars actually required amount. However, mission's funding is insufficient compared to the estimated amount, right? So in fact, if we don't provide the estimated amount, so how can we think of improving the urban livability? So we need to create adequate infrastructure, and that requires allocation of sufficient amount of resources. And apart from that, reliance on public private partnerships or reliance on the private sector has not been giving expected results, particularly with respect to financial inflows, right? So reliance on public private partnership has not yielded the expected financial inflows, because as of now only 5% of the funding has came to the smart cities mission through the public private partnership. So that is far lower than the projections or expectations of the private participation in the successful implementation of the smart cities mission. And in fact, there are infrastructure gaps which have been existing, and these infrastructure gaps have been led to the displacement of vulnerable populations and also disrupting communities, and this has been leading to negative social impact as well. So these are some challenges that smart cities mission has been facing. However, we have some suggestions, we have some recommendations to strengthen smart cities mission. So let's have a look into the recommendations about the better implementation of the smart cities mission. So it is very important that smart cities mission involves multiple stakeholders. So therefore, in this context, improving governance and also a multi-stakeholder involvement is very important in this successful implementation of the smart cities program. Now we should not forget that the local elected bodies, as they are created through 73rd and 74th constitutional amendment acts, so those local bodies must be integrated and they can enhance mission's overall effectiveness. Secondly, focus on comprehensive urban development. So this is the area that has to be adequately focused, right? So we have discussed that smart cities mission focuses on area based or pan city based projects. So therefore, a comprehensive urban development should be kept in mind when it comes to drawing up plans for this smart cities mission. So we should not focus on small pockets within the urban areas, rather we should focus on developing the entire city, and enhancing capacity and also funding mechanisms play a very, very important role. So in this context, we must focus on strengthening the capacities of the urban local bodies through training and organizational restructuring, and that must be backed by the clear central government assistance as well. And apart from that, it is very important to prioritize timely completion of the projects that have been taken up as part of the smart cities mission, because if we further delay the implementation of the projects, so that would increase the project cost as well. And in fact, so timely implementation of these projects also require active monitoring and intervention from the central ministry to ensure quality execution, right? So that's how you could actually address this smart cities mission question, right? So the news article with which we are going to start this discussion, the first article is, Trump became the 47th president of US, and Donald Trump has decided to end US citizenship by birth. And in fact, it has a very huge impact on Indians who are non-resident Indians in America, right? So we'll understand what is the concept of citizenship by birth in US and how it is going to impact India, and we'll also understand all other relevant information in this article, right? So as I have already told you that Donald Trump, US president, declares end to US citizenship by birth. The context is that US President Donald Trump signed an executive order, and this executive order aimed at revoking birthright citizenship in the United States. So that is the executive order of new president of USA, Donald Trump. And in fact, this policy of ending US citizenship by birth would change the long-standing practice where any child born on US soil automatically receives US citizenship regardless of their parents' immigration status. Now imagine that H1B visa. So H1B visa is being given to citizens of other countries, but they are highly skilled. So highly skilled workforce would be given H1B visas. So imagine that two Indian citizens A and B, right? So A and B, male and female, so they are given H1B visa because they are highly skilled workforce, and they are now working in US, and they both get married and they have a child. Now since this child is born in US, even though child's parents are Indian citizens, but this child is born in US, and this child will get the citizenship of US, right? So this is what is known as citizenship by birth. Even though child parent are not the citizens of US, since the child is born in US, so he or she will get the citizenship of US, right? So that is citizenship by birth. But US President Donald Trump signed an executive order to end this practice of citizenship by birth, right? So as I have already clearly explained what is citizenship by birth or birthright citizenship, so again let's have a look into it. So birthright citizenship refers to a legal principle that is followed in US, that any child born in US automatically becomes a US citizen. So this is the crux that you should understand. So any child who is born in US, he or she will become a US citizen, and in fact it was outlined in the 14th amendment to the US Constitution, and it was ratified in 1868. Right, so this is what the birthright citizenship is all about, that the President Donald Trump has passed an executive order to end this practice of birthright citizenship. And in fact, so this policy of birthright citizenship is actually considered as cornerstone of US immigration law for over 150 years. And in fact, not just US, but similar to US, 30 other countries where this birthright citizenship, or this is also called as the principle of jus soil or right of the soil, is being applied. So in some European countries also, this policy of birthright citizenship is being applicable, or it is applied. And in fact, Trump's executive order seeks to deny US citizenship to children who born in the US if their parents are not US citizens or unlawful permanent residents. For example, imagine after this executive order, which is signed by US President Donald Trump. So imagine the same case that two individuals A and B, so they are on a H1B visa, so they are working in US and they have a child, and so since this child is born in USA, earlier birthright citizenship gives citizenship to this child, but this child will no longer get the US citizenship because child's parents are not the citizens of USA. They are on a H1B visa. They are not the citizens. So that is what Trump's policy is about. And in fact, the new rule would apply to children who born to people holding temporary visas such as H1B work visas, student visas, etc. And this rule would also applicable to children born to undocumented immigrants. So in US also, illegal immigration has been increasing, undocumented immigration has been increasing, right? So in fact, I would say that Trump's election again as a president of US is because of the disaffection of people of America against this illegal immigration, right? So it is a protectionist policy, and children of unlawful permanent residents or green card holders, right? So green card holders are known as the permanent residents, right? So their children would also not be considered as citizens of USA. Now, what will be the impact on Indian community? So we need to understand this new policy of Donald Trump on the citizenship and its impact on the Indian community. So the Indian American community is considered as one of the fastest growing immigrant groups in the United States, and that would be significantly impacted by this move of Donald Trump. In fact, people who are legally in the country, such as tourists, students, and those on temporary work visas like H1B, will be severely affected by this new policy of United States. And if this policy goes through, children who are born to these individuals in the US would no longer automatically become the citizens of US. However, so this particular policy of US would actually create uncertainty for US born children of Indian families regarding their future status, whether they would get the citizenship of US. They will not get the citizenship of USA, and since they born out of India, so what about the citizenship of India, right? So that would be a little uncertain with respect to citizenship of those newborn children. And in fact, so it has the potential to discourage Indian professionals, Indian students, or even Indian families from choosing USA as a destination for work or a study, because they may prefer immigration friendly countries like Canada and Australia instead, and this could also potentially impact US economy as well, because the Indian American community has been significantly contributing to US economy, and it is also one of the largest employment creating community. And in fact, it would also potentially affect US industries as well, especially technology, healthcare, education, which rely heavily on Indian professionals, right? So the next topic is India France civil nuclear issues. So it is expected that Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to visit France very soon. So before that, India and France have been both collaborating on civil nuclear issues and different other aspects, right? So that both these countries have been working on. Now in this context, let's discuss briefly India and France relations, right? Now the context is that India and France actually agreed to boost cooperation in high-end technology sectors, right? So they decided to boost cooperation in high-end technology sectors, particularly the long-pending civilian nuclear cooperation issues. So there are certain civilian nuclear cooperation issues between India and France, and both these countries have been trying to work on, because see, one thing that we need to understand, that the relationship between India and France is all weather and also a consequential relationship, right? So in fact, France is also one of the trusted strategic partner of India. So therefore, it is a strategic imperative for India to further strengthen its relations with France, and at the same time, because of the Indo-Pacific region, France also has a key stakes in the Indo-Pacific region, and India is one of the key player in the Indo-Pacific region. So because of that particular reason, the convergence between India and France is very, very important, right? So that is the background, and now we'll try to understand some important aspects of India-France relationship, right? Now, when it comes to the defense cooperation, so India and France regularly conduct the joint military exercises, defense exercises, so that could substantially strengthen the interoperability of the security forces of both India and France, right? For example, when we talk about the military exercises, exercise Shakti, so armies of both India and France would conduct this exercise Varuna by navies of France and India, and also exercise Garuda, so that is being conducted by air forces of both India and France, right? So remember, these naval exercises, military exercises, and also the air force exercises are important. You must remember, because there is a chance of objective type questions being asked from this part. And in fact, we all knew that Rafale fighter jets have been purchased by India from France. India and France inked 59,000 crore deal for 36 Rafale jets in the year 2016, and even P-75 Scorpion project. So this is a submarine project between India and France. So in the year 2005, a contract of strategic importance was signed between India and France for the construction of 6 submarines through a license agreement, right? So submarines will be constructed. So this project is known as P-75 Scorpion project, and in fact, both nations have agreed to further strengthen bilateral defense and security partnerships through enhanced intelligence, information sharing, operational cooperation, and also bolstering military capabilities, expanding bilateral exercises, and also pursuing new initiatives in maritime, space, and even cyber domains. Right, so this we could call a strategic cooperation, defense cooperation, security cooperation between India and France, so that could further deepen the relations between these two countries. And another very important dimension of relations between India and France is a civil nuclear cooperation agreement. And in fact, a landmark civil nuclear cooperation agreement was signed between India and France in the year 2008. Right, so in fact, after India-US civilian nuclear cooperation agreement, India and France have also signed this civilian nuclear cooperation agreement. And according to this civilian nuclear cooperation agreement between these two countries, France will construct 6 European pressurized reactors, or it is also known as EPR. Right, so France will construct 6 European pressurized reactors of 1650 megawatt each and implement 9900 megawatt Jaitapur power project in expedited manner. So this Jaitapur nuclear power project is located in Maharashtra. And the other important area of cooperation between India and France is space cooperation or space domain. And in fact, India has been planning to demonstrate its technology, its capability of sending humans into space through Gaganyaan mission, and France has been extending key support to Indian astronauts as part of the Gaganyaan mission, and both India and France have signed an agreement to this effect. And France's space agency CNES will actually support scientific experiment plans, and it will also provide French equipment, consumables, medical instruments for the Indian astronauts use as well as part of this Gaganyaan mission. And in fact, India and France signed a civilian nuclear cooperation agreement in the year 2008. So as we have already discussed this, and in fact, they have inked the first memorandum of understanding for the 990 megawatt Jaitapur power plant in 2009. However, the officials have said that they have said that high project cost of the nuclear power plant, a construction of nuclear power plant, nuclear reactors, and time overruns, delays, increasing project cost, and continuing logjam over India's civil liability law, or this is also known as Civil Liability for Nuclear Damage Act. Now this Civil Liability for Nuclear Damage Act 2010 has been passed after this Fukushima nuclear disaster in Japan. So that disaster has happened after the tsunami hit Japan, right? So it was this Civil Liability for Nuclear Damage Act is considered as a very, very stringent act, and that has been limiting the cooperation between India and other countries because of its stringent nature. So this is also an issue between India and France, and they are still being discussed on the Jaitapur project. So even as India and France look towards cooperating on small modular reactors in the future, and in fact it is being considered that when it comes to nuclear energy, small modular reactors will be the future, right? So the next topic is US withdrawal from the World Health Organizations and implications for the global health. So we'll just try to understand this aspect as well, right? So in fact, when Trump becomes the president of United States, so he actually signed an executive order to withdraw from the World Health Organization, right? So because in his first term also, Trump made several allegations against the World Health Organization and its biased functioning towards some countries during the COVID-19 pandemic. So we'll just try to discuss about that aspect as well. So on his first day in office, President Donald Trump signed an executive order, right? So he signed an executive order to withdraw United States from the World Health Organization, and that is another executive order that has been signed by the US President Donald Trump. And this decision actually marks the second attempt by Trump to exit the global health body, right? Because when he was a president, so he made an attempt to withdraw US from the global health body, and then in fact when Joe Biden became the president of US, right? So he also he again rejoined WHO, and again he signed an executive order to withdraw from the global health body, citing dissatisfaction with World Health Organization's management during the COVID-19 pandemic. And along with this management of the COVID-19 pandemic, perceived political biases that have been shown by the WHO, and also disproportionate financial burdens placed on US, because now US is the country which has been the largest contributor to the global health body. Like no other country has been contributing such a large amount of money to the WHO. There are some reasons for the withdrawal, so we'll understand those reasons as well. In fact, Trump criticized World Health Organization's delayed response to pandemic. So in fact, Trump accused WHO that it has actually delayed response to the pandemic, and that has created a global health disaster or global health emergency. And in fact, he also very often criticized the way WHO handled China's accountability in the initial stages of the outbreak. And in fact, the administration actually accused World Health Organization of being overly influenced by certain member states, including China, right? So in fact, Trump's accusations were that despite China being the one of the less contributor to the WHO compared to US, so WHO has been favoring China and other countries. And in fact, US contributes the highest assessed membership dues, so that is being ranging from 100 to 122 million dollars annually. So nearly 1.3 billion in voluntary funding in the year 2022-23. So you can imagine how US is very important in terms of funding for the World Health Organization. So of course, US withdrawal from WHO will have a substantial, a disproportionate impact on the working of the World Health Organization and its effectiveness to deal with such a huge pandemics and also healthcare research. And Trump labeled this burden as unfair when compared to China's significantly lower contributions. Now, what will be the implications on WHO, right? So we should also understand the implications of withdrawal of USA from WHO. Now, US contributes nearly 20% of the total funding to WHO, and losing this 20% of contributions to the WHO would severely impact the organization's ability to support healthcare programs. So it may not support the healthcare programs throughout the world, including vaccine development, eradication of diseases such as polio, pandemic preparedness as well. And in fact, WHO aids various global health programs, whether it is vaccination, supplying essential medicines to countries which cannot afford, countries which are poor, underdeveloped, etc. And in fact, WHO also helps assess India's immunization and disease surveillance efforts. So in case WHO's effectiveness is being reduced because of less funding, that could also substantially affect India's immunization efforts as well as the disease surveillance. And reduced funding could hinder these initiatives, particularly in the low resource countries. However, the withdrawal of US would sever collaboration between WHO as well as US, and in fact institutions like CDC, which are instrumental in global health surveillance and also the response to any pandemic like incidents. However, so US withdrawal from WHO, so what should be the way forward? Now, how it is going to provide opportunities for the other countries? So that aspect also we should try to understand, because legal experts are actually questioning the constitutional validity of Trump's exit from the WHO or constitutionality of Trump's decision, because the legal experts have been suggesting congressional approval may be required for the withdrawal of USA from World Health Organization. And in fact, World Health Organization should also tries to address inefficiencies on its part, along with improving transparency, speed up emergency response protocols to any such pandemics. And also it is very important on the part of the World Health Organization to immediately regain trust and maintain global health leadership. And in fact, countries like India and South Africa should closely collaborate. They should cooperate together to fill the financial and strategic gap that has been created by the US exit from the WHO. And apart from that, US withdrawal may pave the way for a greater involvement. Now, since US exit from the WHO, so this actually provides a potential opportunity for China to step up its contributions to the World Health Organization, not just China, and that also includes the global south, including India, because China already pledged more than 30 million in addition to its funding to the WHO to some extent fill this gap. And this move will likely strengthen its influence in the global health governance. And even experts have been suggesting that this is an opportunity for India and other emerging economies to further step up. And India's leadership in vaccine production and its positioning as the voice of the global south could be effectively leveraged, and India can now play a pivotal role in shaping a balanced global health framework that could potentially benefit India and India's pharmaceutical industry. Right, so that's all from this lecture, and thank you so much. So if you like our work, please subscribe our YouTube channel and also hit the like button. Thank you.